So my best friend found me this mug. It's the 101 Dalmatians coffee mug. I had the same mug. It was actually in the office that I was working at for my very first job, and I used it religiously. Like, it was a mug just in the office kitchen. And I kick myself every single time because I did not take that mug with me when I left that position. Nobody cared there at the office about Disney like I did. So I was so bummed, and I would tell her about this all the time. I'm like, damn, that 101 Dalmatians mug, that was just classic. The girl came through and she found it. I think she found it on Etsy or eBay or something. And anyway, we're gonna do this Ask Me Anything coffee and money talk chit chat with this mug. And so I'm just gonna go through the questions that I received. And a lot of these questions I'm just talking to you guys about on Instagram, and then I was like, you know what? Let's put together a video about this and we will chit chat. By the way, if you have comments or questions, you want to ask me something that I don't cover in this video, leave a comment below and I will be sure to include it in the next one. All right, let's go through the list. Number 1, best non-529 account to save for your kids. Okay, I have friends who use the UGMAs. Those are the Uniform Gifts to Minors Act, in which you can put money into an account, into an investment that grows over time. When that kid turns 18, however, they take full ownership of that account. So if you don't want that to happen, then you could open up a brokerage account under your name, and then you could go ahead and withdraw the funds whenever you wanted to, like maybe when your child turns, I don't know, 22 for college graduation, or 25, 26, whenever. So you have a little bit more control over that. So those are the two. Actually, I got comments saying that you guys want to see a video on the Uniform Gifts to Minors Act, those UGMAs. So I will make a video on that. Number 2, living paycheck to paycheck while looking for a stable job. How can I feel less stressed? Okay, this one, making a plan is absolutely essential for this. Are you doing a written budget? Having a written budget down, tracking your income and expenses is really going to help you feel like you have control over this situation and that you have choice in where your money is going. Also, make sure that you are upgrading your resume, you are reaching out to your professional and personal network so that you can see where those opportunities might lie. Also, remember that this all is temporary. Identify your need spending and your want spending. Need spending is categorized as mandatory spending to meet your life. Your rent, your mortgage, your utilities, transportation, food, versus your want spending, which makes life more comfortable, easy, and fun. Also, another way to feel less stressed in this situation is to incorporate contentment activities. Contentment activities are the things that reflect your values, that bring you joy, that don't cost money. Some examples would be a hike, a walk through the park, going to just a body of water, whether that be a pool, a lake, or the ocean. Being around water is very therapeutic. Maybe it's sketching in an art book or baking cookies, whatever that contentment activity that like gives you that little endorphins. Taking a bath with a good book. These are some things that can help you feel less stressed. Number 3, do you have any budgeting tips for groceries with food price inflation? I 100% feel you on this. Our grocery budget, if you watched our last Beers and Budgeting episode, got blown out of the water, like over $900 when I was already increasing my grocery budget to $725. I completely just like blew it. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to shop my pantry and freezer first, focusing on cheaper staples such as incorporating more pasta meals into my week, rice, beans, what I had just made, my grandma's Spanish rice and beans, and it turned out fantastic. So that's basically what I'm doing, and as I'm testing that, I will share with you what my July grocery budget is in our next Beers and Budgeting episode. Number 4, how to best support broke in-laws in retirement when you have competing priorities. Okay, this is a sensitive subject because of course they're your family, they're your partner's family, and you want to support them and love them. So you got to think about if you are wanting to help them out financially, think about it in 2 different ways. Are you looking at this from a place of compassion, or do you feel guilty and therefore you're wanting to give them money. If it's coming from a place of compassion, I say give and give freely. If it's coming from a place of guilt, be careful, because you could really start to grow some resentment for that family member, and that's really going to tarnish the relationship, and you really do not want to hold on to that resentment and anger as a result of something that you did and that you acted upon. So I encourage you to talk about openly and saying, yes, we want to support you if that's the decision that you want to make, and also prioritizing your stuff first. And that's where you have to be transparent of, like, we've got our own financial goals that we are really working on, and I hear you when you say you need support, and we'd love to do that, and this is what we can do, or this is what we cannot do, and setting those boundaries very clearly. Number 5 is getting a car a waste of money seems expensive with gas, insurance, and maintenance. I mean, not in my opinion, but I really rely on my car for transportation and to get me to things that I need to get to, such as doctor's appointments, errands, grocery runs. My husband needs it to get to work, so it really is a source of reliability for us. The thing about cars, though, is that you have to understand that this is a depreciating asset. This is not something that is going to make you money. Therefore, you really have to consider the options and the price tags of different types of cars that are going to fit your needs. And keep in mind, just like you were mentioning, there are sunk costs involved in having and maintaining a car. It has to have gas, it has to have maintenance, it will break down, you will need repairs, and it definitely needs insurance. However, if you get a real cheap car, let's say you get like a Prius, you get a Prius, $12K for a used one, you're gonna run it to the ground and it's going to get you from point A to point B, versus somebody else who may use their car heavily as a commuter and they want a comfortable ride. They may look at something that's, 20, 30 grand, and they're really going to use that vehicle as like a kind of their like own sanctuary as they get to and from across town. Number 6, what percentage of your net worth, excluding retirement funds, do you plan on using for a down payment? Well, net worth would definitely include retirement funds. With that out of the equation, I don't know the percentage, but I do know how much I have saved for the down payment, and we have over $146,000 saved for a down payment. I know if you're watching this and you're hearing this for the first time, you're like, how? It has taken us 5 years to save that amount. Plus, I have a big portion of our down payment fund in a brokerage account invested in bond index funds, and that has really earned a lot of interest over the last 5 years. So if you want to learn more about that, I will link to this video up here that explains more about that. Number 7, should you wait to save $3K for VTI, or is it better to just do the ETF version for a Roth IRA? Okay, so I think this person got this a little backwards. So in order to invest in the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund, which is VTSAX, you'll need a $3,000 minimum amount to open and invest in that fund directly with Vanguard. VTI is the ETF version of the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund. If you want to invest in a VTI, there is no minimum. You just pay the price per share of that day. So I would start with the VTI inside of a Roth IRA. I have a whole video on Roth IRAs that I will also link to up here in the cards. You can check out. I would start with the VTI. Once that account balance in your Roth IRA gets over 3 grand, then you can convert the VTI into the VTSAX. And the reason that you would want to do that is because the VTSAX is a fund that you are able to automatically contribute into and invest in every single month, whereas VTI is more of a manual process. Okay, number 8, tips for when you get more bills than you can pay. Oh my gosh, okay. This one is nuts, and I actually just filmed a video separately just for your question. But in a nutshell, you'll want to ensure all basic living needs are met, that you are paying minimums on everything that you can. Refer to your debt payoff plan, which debt is taking priority. You also want to talk to your creditors about what you can do to lower the monthly payment and see if they're willing to work with you. Also, number 5, you absolutely have to get the income up. Number 9, should millennials get life insurance? All right, so currently my husband and I have life insurance policies taken out through his employer so that we'd have enough money to help us out if either one of us were to pass away, that we know that Quinn would be taken care of and our funeral costs would be taken care of. You'll want to take a look at whole life versus term life and see the values and why term life would be a better solution for you versus whole life. Also, when you get to a point where your assets and your investments have a lot of money in them, you can ditch the life insurance policy and use that money from your investments to really make sure that your partner and that your family is taken care of and that your funeral costs are taken care of as well. Number 10, my $1,700 per month health insurance contribution kicks in today. Me sad. Me sad for you too. I don't think this was a question. This was kind of like a holy shit. That is nuts. I cannot believe that your health insurance, and this is for a family, I'm assuming this is for a family, so what is going on with your employer? Number 11, just starting to invest, want to save for down payment, kids, college, my savings, separate accounts. Okay, so I keep separate accounts for the big things, just as you've mentioned here. Kids, college, 529 plan, that's easy. Your savings, if it's an emergency fund that you are building up, yes, that needs to be separate. Down payment, yes. I keep that separate so that I can see exactly how much money I have in there and I don't accidentally take that money and use it for something else. Number 12, have you invested in I-bonds with the high inflation currently? I have not, but holy cow, the interest that they are paying on that is nuts. It is over 9% to invest in these I-bonds. The only thing is there are some rules when it comes to investing in I-bonds. You absolutely have to have them in there for a minimum of 1 year. Also, it's going to mature at 5 years. If you take these out before 5 years, you lose the previous 3 months of interest. I think I covered this in our last chit chat. Also, another thing that Kyle mentioned to me is the maximum amount of money that you can invest in I-bonds in 1 year is $10,000. So if you're earning, 9.62%, on $10,000, is it really going to make you a whole lot of money? I mean, it could be a good way to stash maybe some extra savings, but you're really going to have to keep it in there for 5 years minimum, unless you want to lose out on the previous 3 months of interest. So could be an option, something that I have not personally done. Number 13, do you have 2 accounts or is it spam? This was on Instagram. Instagram, I have no idea why there are so many spammers popping up that are making fake accounts where they're just changing one little letter in my username, and then they are DMing my followers. It's really, really annoying. So just beware of scammers. I've seen it with larger Instagram accounts, and now I'm seeing it with Instagram accounts like mine, where it's just like, why are we doing this? So just know, debt-free millennials, pay attention to the spelling, and I have an underscore at the end of my username on Instagram. And same goes for scammers here on YouTube. Guys, they want to do this like WhatsApp thing and crypto. That is not my jam. That is not something that I will ever promote here on this channel, is talking about ways to get involved with this financial advisor. No, that is not me. So pay attention and just be aware. Internet savviness, we all know the deal. Number 14, timeline for a second child. We worry about cost of adding kids. I worry about the cost of adding kids too. And I think I talked about this, like I would want Quinn to be no older than 4 years old by the time a second came around. I just don't know. It's such a tricky question to answer, because I'm like, ooh, maybe when she's 3, but hey, we still live in this 2-bedroom condo. I really would like more space. I would really like to buy a home. Interest rates are just crazy, and as you saw, we're trying to really increase our down payment amount. The one thing that I will say about having just her and focusing on her growth and development, it's so fun being able to give her that individualized attention. And we've really been playing hardcore with our Love Every toy subscription. This thing is awesome because it actually has toys that are age appropriate according to her development. So we just got a kit for ages 16, 17, and 18 months. So a year and a half for all of you who don't follow kids' ages in months. I certainly don't. So around a year and a half, and it's so fun watching her build towers and learn about bugs and follow along in a story in a book. It's so great. I've really enjoyed having that as my only source of toys outside of what's gifted to us. This is the only thing that I'm really interested in getting for Quinn. So if you're interested in Love Every in their Play Kit subscription, I will leave a link to their stuff below for you to check out. This also makes a really great baby shower gift for your new mama friend in town. Definitely hook them up with one of these subscriptions, or somehow gift money towards a subscription. They will love it. Number 15, are we overpaying for a home in this market? Probably. Number 16, what should I do first? Pay off 2.5% car loan with $5,000 left, or max out Roth IRA with $3,500 left? Pay off the car. You will get that money back and then some. Number 17, how long has it taken you to save your $146,000 down payment? 5 years, really being intentional with it. 18, how did you find a nanny babysitter you trust? Oh my gosh, just search nanny babysitter parent connection in your city. So fill in the blank. For us, that was nanny parent connection in San Diego, nanny parent connection in Chicago, whatever it may be. Look it up for your specific city, and chances are there's going to be a Facebook group that connects nannies and parents into one group. You can post an advertisement. Either way, nannies can post that they're looking for a family, families can post that they're looking for a nanny, and then you find a match that way. Hands down, definitely go that route. 19, getting a raise starting in August. Congrats, extra $300 per month. Sinking funds such as car, kid, house, or invest. This really depends on where you're at in your financial situation, so I don't know the whole picture. Are you debt free? If so, let's take a look at some of these other things. I think you could definitely take a portion towards your investments and follow the steps of how to max out your retirement account. So I would go and start with your 401k. Make sure you're contributing up to that employer match. Then you can move on to a Roth IRA, maxing that out, going back to the 401k, working on maxing that out. As long as you're taking steps to max out those retirement accounts, you could maybe put $150 extra towards the retirement account. Then take a look at your sinking funds and figure out which ones that are going to hit first. Do you want to hit a replacement car first? Do you want to work on saving up for your kid or your house and prioritize that? So it's just all about choice at this point. Number 20, should we still be tipping like we used to when they're making more than I do at a real job just to work fast food? Okay, let's talk about this, because the federal minimum wage for tipped earners, income earners, is $2.13, and there are several states that still abide by this, including my home state of Kansas. Kansas has a $2.13 minimum wage per hour for tipped earners. And so that is what you're getting on top of tips. That is crazy, crazy low. These people absolutely need tips in order to make a living. Absolutely, you need a tip. If you cannot tip, you cannot afford to go out to eat. 21, is it worth getting a Roth if we already have an investment account? Yes, there are so many benefits to a Roth IRA. You get to withdraw those earnings tax-free during retirement. You're taxed up front on that money, which means, as we know, over time, the tax rate only increases as we get older, because hopefully we're making more money. And so if you're paying today's tax rate on that money invested into a Roth IRA, it grows tax-free, then you get to withdraw that money during retirement tax-free. Have a whole video on Roth IRAs. I think I already mentioned that, so go check that out. 22, Kyle looks so tall and you look so tiny. What are your heights? I'm gonna throw up a couple of pictures here just to give you an idea of our height difference, because I guess it really is that he's that tall and I'm that short. So I'm 5'2" and he is 6'1". There you go. We're almost a foot difference. 23, my husband and I had a rough year and have not been able to contribute to our Roth. Is that horrible? And what would you suggest we do? Our budget is already cut so thin. No. This is not horrible. This is not terrible that you can't contribute to your Roth. You go back to being able to focus on the immediate financial needs, covering those basic living expenses, covering those debts if you have them. If you have dependents, kids, making sure that their needs are met financially. Childcare, we've had to do this actually. So we had to make sure that my daughter's needs and childcare costs were met first. Those are met, then we can work on increasing our income here and there to help boost our Roth IRA contributions. So not terrible. 24, do you feel like traveling is limited now that you have a baby? Honestly, I feel like it's COVID that feels more limiting than having the baby. Having Quinn now and traveling, and we haven't really traveled a whole lot due to the fact that there's COVID and she's not vaccinated yet. I think that's been more of a concern. The times that we have traveled with her, and we traveled and flew with her 3 times before she was 1 year old, it was fine. We made sure wherever our destination was, and this was just go back home and visit family, we made sure that they had car seats, pack and plays, you know, diapers, high chairs, car seats, all of that stuff ready to go, so that we didn't have to take all that stuff with us. Especially traveling on a plane, I really just wanted to keep things minimal. But we recently took a road trip up to LA and we had to bring all that stuff with us. Luckily, that's only like a 2.5 hour drive from here, so we were able to take things in the car. 25, also from Kansas, how do you deal with missing home and travel prices? Yay, a fellow Kansan out there. You know, we have to be very choosy about the number of times that we go home, because flight costs are only increasing. And I'm also very aware that Quinn will be 2 in March, and after she turns 2, she can no longer fly as a lap child. She can't fly free. So I'm trying to figure out what makes the most sense for us. It's tough. It's tough. We've lived away from the Midwest for almost 7 years now, and you do have to pick and choose the times that you can go back. Something that's helped us though is just having our parents and our families come out and visit us, and even though it gets really cramped in a 2-bedroom condo, it actually makes for a really fun trip for them because we're right by the ocean and so many places of interest. So it's tough. 26, my company offers a Roth 401k with a 4% match. Should I keep investing 15% there or set up a Roth IRA? Definitely contribute up to the match for sure. Should I keep investing 15%? Okay, here's where I think you could maybe have a little bit of opportunity here. I would be curious, with your Roth 401k, what type of investments do you get access to? Are they investments that you genuinely like, or do you feel like you might have other options if you were to go outside of your employer's preferred investing company and go with something that you selected, handpicked yourself? So those are some things, if you wanted to have more flexibility and freedom in what you were investing in, then I would consider doing the Roth IRA. Either way, contribute up to the match and then open the Roth IRA. Max that out because that's $6K, and then you can go back to the Roth 401k and work on maxing that out. 27, you could buy an entire house in other areas with your down payment. When to consider moving? This is a very good question, and I realized that I could probably buy a whole house in small town Kansas if I really wanted to. I think the conversation of moving really comes about when we no longer feel like San Diego can offer what we want. And I still feel like San Diego has so much to offer. We've had such an incredible experience here. Professionally, personally, I've done a lot of growth here. Had my baby here. It really has a personal connection for me. And I think there will come a point where you're like, okay, like I am actually going to make this work, and we are going to have a great home here. There also could be a point where we're like, okay, San Diego is no longer serving its purpose. And so for now, knowing like where I'm at with our rent and our lease agreement ends next April, and we are totally comfortable with, you know, us and Quinn being here, I think that conversation is tabled until something happens along our road of journeying down life. The road of life. I don't know if that makes sense, but when something happens, you know? I feel like that was a cryptic response. It wasn't meant to be cryptic, but I think you just have to be open to opportunities and open to what the city that you're currently living in has to offer you or is no longer offering you. All right, last question here, 28. How to have the start of shared money account with the spouse? I mean, you just do it. One thing that helped me when Kyle and I first got married is that we chose a bank together and figured out which bank would work best for us. So he ditched his old bank, I ditched my old bank, and together we combined. And so when we came out here, especially moving to a new city, we were able to kind of shop around and see what bank best fit our needs. Also, if you're looking for high yield savings accounts, I just did a video on that. So be sure to check that out on best high yield savings accounts because the interest rates have gone up dramatically. I find having a shared account helps us see that it's not just my money and your money, it is our money. Together with our money, we are making these financial decisions, and it helps us create some unity there so that we can go after our financial goals together. This was a very long video as always. I love doing these financial millennial chit chats. There were some good questions in here. If there was something that you burning question in your pocket, please lay it out in the comments and I'll be sure to address that one next time. I'll catch you in another video.